Scoot into the cage. Let's see. So if some people may know me, some people may not. My name is Allison Kellum. I'm an artist that's classically trained in Old Master Technique and Realism. I've worked at Disney and Warner Brothers and 2K Games, and all of that comes from my training as an artist. If I hadn't had this experience studying Old Master Technique, studying anatomy, studying figure drawing, still life, all of those things fed into my ability to work in the digital world. And so today we're going to focus on animal anatomy and sort of animals. Figure drawing could be figures for humans. It could be figure drawings for animals. It could be figure drawings. It's all kinds. It could be, you could do a drawing, a quick sketch drawing of a car. Like it's gestural and that kind of idea. And so typically people, when they say we're taking a class, we're going to learn how to draw a tiger or whatever, it ends up being very much about memorize, where I draw these circles and it's like draw a circle here, memorize this, memorize that. That's fine if you want to draw that specific tiger. What we're going to focus on is I'm going to teach you guys is seeing how to draw all tigers or all cats or all elephants or all of those things. And what we want to really understand is the base of all of it is our skeleton, is our bones, right? My cheekbones and my skull is making the shapes of my face. It's making the shapes of my chin. These are forms that are underlying, and and we do have a lot of it's bone that's making these shapes. And there's also cartilage, like the tip of my nose is cartilage. My ears are cartilage. They're not bone, right? But they still affect the shape, and they still make shapes underneath our skin, which they would call in anatomy would be subcutaneous forms, underneath the skin, forms that are pushing on the skin to make it, like my wrist bone right here. You see this bone right here? How is that bump? It's like, what is that bump? Well, that's my wrist bone. That's actually the ulna, my bone that's running through, and it's that protruding right there. These are things that I will teach you how to basically understand. Sorry, I'm trying to admit everybody at the same time. Seeing how to understand basically the average anatomy, see the underlying shapes. Try to put on our X-ray vision. We need to see the underlying forms, the underlying bone structure actually. So to start with, we're going to actually scoot up a little bit. We're going to start with a tiger and kind of show you. Well, and honestly, let me give you the breakdown of basic forms of any person, whether it's a person, whether it's an animal, basically all vertebrates, all right? All people, all actually, and it's like all animals that have bones inside their body, inside their skin, like invertebrates are, sorry, juggling, trying to let people in, that, like spiders and other, animals that don't have a spine, they don't have bones inside. We have endoskeletons, our skeletons are on the inside. There's those that have like exoskeletons, like bugs and crabs and whatever. The endoskeletons, the ones where we have bones on the inside that help us stand up straight and move and walk and everything, those things are basically in the basic forms and sort of this sort of general shape. It's all starts with a basic head shape, a basic skull. And I'm just going to show really just quick. This is a really quick human, really sort of exaggerated proportions, a general rib cage situation and a general sort of pelvis situation that's general for that shape, right? And just that overall form. Now from the sort of basic three forms that never squish, they never bend, they never twist, they're always sort of the same shape no matter where you look at them. They never really like squeeze or twist or turn. Those are always going to be there. The only exception would be like the jaw, right? Or like if your rib cage, someone takes a deep breath and the ribs expand. But for the most part, these are the considered sort of the like three like basic rigid shapes. From that, as we leave the trunk and sort of our appendages, there's always a single bone that comes from the body, a single bone, and then two bones. Sort of a single bone for the humerus, the upper arm, two bones, the radius and the ulna. That then goes into metacarpals, metacarpals, which is basically our wrist bones, that then goes off into the fingers. And I'm exaggerating it so you guys can really see this idea. The same thing applies if we were doing the legs. One leg bone comes from the trunk of the body. Then there's like a knee, then there's two leg bones that come out. Bunch of little bones, metatarpals, metatarpals and stuff, and then toes. So this idea of a single bone, double bone, and then sort of fins that come out. That basic template is pretty much in all endoskeletons, in all invertebrates, or all vertebrates in a sense, all those that have spines. And that concept we can now take and approach. We think about it, we see it with humans. We have humans that have those. But what about cats? What about drawing? So here I've got, now if you can try and see, and it's okay, copy if you can see these things, and it's all right if they're not perfect. In some ways it's better that you don't see all the details. I want you to see the general forms. Well, I also want you to talk about, when we're doing figure drawing and life drawing and all of that, whether it's a person or animals or anything else, the concept of gesture, very loose, very fluid, swirling shapes. So it's like seeing the overall form. I'm going to kind of draw this tiger just real quick, this overall forms. That would then be the gestural shapes. So what I want you to do, and I'm going to kind of do a quick one. I'll start fresh paper. You pick a tiger. I'd like for you guys, pick any of the tigers on this page, and I want you to start to isolate the 3 major shapes that I just talked about. Where's the head? Where's the rib cage? Where's the pelvis? So for this tiger here, I'm seeing this is sort of its overall sort of line of action is what they would call, if we were to boil it down to just one line. That's how I kind of feel like it's happening. But then I'm going to put in his skull. I'm going to visualize the rib cage, and I'm going to visualize the pelvis. Now, basically, those basic shapes, like I said, are in all beings that have spines, right? Whether it's a bat or a whale or an elephant or a tiger or a human being, or a squirrel, like the list goes on, all of those basically, that concept, once you break it down to these simple 3 forms, then we can start looking at any shapes. We can look at any animals, as long as you're able to see that and go, oh, I see where the rib cage is. And then I see where the rib cage ends, right? So then it's like, I'm looking here and I can actually visualize using my sort of mind's eye where these forms are. And from that, I can then start making decisions and saying, okay, well, now here's one arm bone. Here's the other arm bone. And then we can start breaking it down. And and it can be really loose. I mean, very loose with it. Let's see, and then this, and then technically the feet. And one thing I want to talk about too, as we come to 4-legged or quadrupeds. Bipeds are humans. Two biped meaning 2-legged, walking with 2 legs, moving with 2 legs. Quadruped meaning 4. With that, basically what happens is if you were to take a person standing up and on all 4s, the concept of it looks like what would be a backwards knee. This thing, you see it in horses, you see it in dogs and cats, and that backwards knee, really, honestly, their knee is right here. If we were to draw, I know, the ankle is actually right here. So let me start fresh so that I can make it even clearer. I'm going to show you, this is it's a trippy thing. It's like, basically, I'm going to do the hip, do this leg really fast, and I'll show you this just the foot. So we kind of go over to this, just so I can kind of give you an example. So this leg with its foot in here, if we were to imagine where the bones are, here's like the spine running through, here's this pelvis. Where is the bones? And we try to imagine that. Well, the bone is actually running here, and it's actually, its knee is like right there. And then there's 2 bones that are running, that then run to its ankle. And then it's almost like standing on its tippy toes. This is all its foot. This is a whole piece right here is its foot, which is really crazy. And that's something that's really challenging for people to see. I'm gonna pull up close for you guys to see this. And that you can see is that this whole piece right here is the foot. This is actually its heel. This is its knee. And so you can imagine there's this sort of, this thigh bone, this femur that runs, and it sort of stops right here. There's 2 bones that run to the ankle, the heel, and then it's like walking, this is like its long part of its foot, and these are its toes. It's really walking the pads of its feet. It's walking on the tips of its toes. And so this is stuff where now, once you understand that, I'll show you this drawing really quick. Once you understand that, you see that that's actually the back of its foot. This is really it walking on its tippy toes. You know what I mean? And so understanding those shapes and sort of seeing it now, when you see them, it doesn't become so mysterious anymore, right? You start to understand those shapes. So I'm just gonna do, with tigers, with cats, you know, cats in general, I mean, they're all pretty much the same in the sense, but there is a sort of basic, I'm going to do a quick anatomy study that we can show really quick. I'm going to sort of, can this come through? We can do a lion one. I can try and with this tiger in the background. Is this going to work? I'm going to stay, trying to find something to like balance it because this is kind of precarious. So, maybe, no? Sorry, they're very heavy. They're very heavy books. So this guy's got to go. So I want you to just basically, these are all just an animal anatomy books, but here, I'm just going to pull it up to you and show you really quick, and then I'll set it back. This is an example of, see how there's the cat anatomy? There's just sort of a side by side. Here's the cat skeleton. And it shows that really it's not that different in a lion or a tiger or a leopard.
Is there any book?
And I think ironically it's on underneath here. Animal anatomy. This book is very great when it comes to that, in that it literally shows you the anatomy. It literally, and this is an atlas for animal anatomy. And this one, you can it shows very specific, straight up anatomy of actually, here's the bones, here's the muscles, here's the tendons. And so these are really great, you know, for like understanding too, like the feet. The same thing we said, I mean, theoretically, you know, you can say that the feet of a horse, you know, horse is sort of one where it does have toes, but if you can see, they actually sort of fused and became the hoof. The foot bone actually sort of, they fuse and they alter based on their needs and what they're, for survival. And and that's what it comes down to, right? Is that the reason why we have these shapes and the reason why they're, you know, a tiger is a tiger and why, you know, a lion is a lion is it's all adaptation.